Hello and welcome back to Xpop channel. Myself Rakesh, and today we are going to learn a very important variable which is called dataset. And you cannot skip this variable because the usage of the variable will determine what output you will get out of your project. For example, if I ask you, if I write dataset dot tables in bracket 2, what is the output? Do you know? Alright, so I'm going to literally show you with a practical example what are this variable and where it comes. So first of all, in the entire document understanding process, the final step after you validate, the final step is you export the extraction results, right? For that, you are using this activity export extraction results, and this is where the output is dataset. This is the dataset variable. Okay. Now for this dataset variable, what is the output? Have you seen what kind of output it comes if I write? So let me show you. First of all, what we will do, we will simply, to understand this in a very simple way, and this is very important guys, do not miss it, because unless you know it, there's no use of learning document understanding, because at the end this is the output variable which you have to use. Okay, now here let me, if I write dataset dot tables, so dataset contains a fixed format. I'm going to explain that on the PPT, but first of all let's see it practically. Once we see, we get to know, right? So I'm writing dataset dot tables, and here if I use a message box, right, if I use a message box and I simply write item, okay, for each loop, so I'm writing item. So what is the output are you expecting? Are you expecting the output? So let me tell you, this entire project I have built to extract data from the invoice. So it's going to build, I have shown in the previous example, but here in that entire document understanding workflow, I am actually providing the invoice, and is trying to pull out invoice number, then it is trying to pull out the company name, right, and due date, like that. There are so many other things which is trying to, it is trying to pull out. Okay, and right, so now let me show you the taxonomy so that you will understand. Let me open up the taxonomy, and now we are going to run this. Okay, once we see the taxonomy, now I am going to utilize invoice, because in the input folder, if you have seen my previous video, in the input folder I have removed all the files provided by uipath to a separate folder, and I have kept invoice. So that's where it's only going to extract the data from the invoice. And for the invoice, I am pulling some 4 different fields. One is the invoice number, invoice date, company name, and items. So this item, if you see, this is a table. That means on your invoice, this is the table it has, right? So it's trying to pull all the items: quantity, description, unit price, amount. Okay, so these are the fields which I want. Okay, so let's recall invoice number. Invoice number is here, it is going to pull this, and then invoice date is here, which is going to pull it, and then company name, which is nothing but this one. Okay, company name, and then it's going to pull the items. What are the items? It is there. So I have shown you how to extract tables from my invoice, my previous video. Okay, so people who have already watched it, they must be aware of these fields. Okay, done. Now this is a table. Just remember, this last one is a table. Okay, now let's come out of this. Now let's run it, and right now what we have done, in the under the export extraction results, the output variable is dataset. So I'm using the dataset variable and trying to see what is the output we are getting. What is the output we are getting? Okay, so let me show you. Then I'm going to literally write the output to an Excel, and I'm going to show you the, but just continue with me. I'm going to explain so many minute details. If you skip it, you will miss it. That's all. So let's continue. So let me run it. All right, so please do like and subscribe. Many people have got job, people who have subscribed to our channel. You can watch in our comments, many people have written that, and in LinkedIn I have posted. Okay, so the processing is going on. All right. So when you are learning UiPath, always try to experiment. More experiment you do, more you learn. All right. So we are very near. Classification is done. Okay. Now it's into data extraction. It is using the invoice ML extractor to extract the data from the invoice. All this demo you have already seen in my previous video. Now we are focused on the output of the data set. Okay, now the validation is happening, so I will say save. Okay, it is pulling all the required data. All right, now let me show you what is the output. Are you expecting data to come out? No, the data won't come out. So what is the first output? Remember, it is showing something called simple fields. That is the first output. Okay, now let me click on OK. Just remember this, click on OK. Now what is the output coming? Simple fields formatted, same name but it is written as formatted. Remember this. Okay, simple fields and then simple fields formatted. Okay, just remember this, and I am going to explain you what are this. Then the third one coming called items. This items is nothing but in the taxonomy we wanted all the items, so the field name was item, so it is showing items. That is a table. Okay, it is showing the table items, and then it's same table but it's saying formatted. Okay, so there are four things we saw: simple field, and then we saw simple fields formatted, then items, then item formatted. Okay, these are the four things came. So let's understand, let's go back to our PPT and understand. So the dataset variable contains table. The first table, they contains different tables. The first table name is called simple field. So dataset itself is a collection of various tables. So dataset is a collection of various tables. So the first table, the default name, the name is by default as per the UiPath design. The first table name is simple fields. So when we run the for each loop, the first table output will always come as simple field. The name of that table is simple fields. Like you create a table in a database and you provide a name, that name until you change it remains the same. Similar way for the dataset variable, it is by default designed by UiPath, wherein the table name is given as simple field. So that's where we see the output as simple field. That is the name of the table. Inside the table, what data is there, how to get it, I am going to show you. But this is just remember, the first table name is called simple fields. Now the second table, it is the similar table, whatever data it contains is the copy of that, but there is a change in format. What does mean by formatted? Means, for example, let's say you got a number, okay, which is in text format. So what this will do, that is going to convert that into number format. Getting it? That's going to convert it to number format. So it is formatting the data whatever is coming from the simple fields, but again it is the replica of the first field. It is having two types, one is formatted one is the simple one. Okay, now the third one is a collection of tables. So in your taxonomy, for example, in your taxonomy, in my taxonomy, how many tables I have created for the invoice? Item, there is only one field called item whose data type is table, whose type is table. Okay, if you have multiple like that, let's say there is a multi-page invoice where you have lot many items, items from, or if there are multiple tables, just imagine. So you will create multiple fields which is in table format. So how number of fields that you have created which has a type table, those many times those tables will come. So for in the run I have made, you saw the table name has come as item, then it came as item formatted. Let's say if I would have had another table called item 1 or item 2, then it would have shown me item 2 as the table name, and the next output would have shown me item 2 / formatted. So the third one is a collection of your defined tables. Whatever tables you have defined in your taxonomy, it is going to give you two outputs. One is the simple field, simple table, and the other one will be formatted. So, getting it? So there are three categories of table. The first category is called simple fields, the second one is simple fields formatted, and the third category of tables could be whatever you have defined. For each field that you have defined which has a type table, right, which has a type table, that will have 2 to 2 outputs. Getting it? So let me write it to an Excel file. Okay, so there are 4 outputs for this invoice. Okay, now for this invoice, let's write it. Let us write it to an Excel file. So you can do it in various way. I want to show in a little different way, which is more simpler. Let's say what would happen if I write a message box. If I write a message box and if I simply say data set dot tables, tell me what would happen if I write in this way, tables, and I will say 0. So what would happen when I say 0? When I say 0, what is the meaning? As I said, in this example there were 4 outputs. So the first output which is stored in the 0, which is nothing but simple fields. Okay, let me show you. So when I show it in the message box, it becomes pretty clear. Okay, let's quickly copy paste, and I'm going to make it to 1. Now let's quickly copy paste and let's make it to 2, and let's do a copy paste and let's do it to 3, because there are 4 outputs we saw in the for each loop. Now if I write this, what is the output? We should see that, right? So let me run it. Okay, we'll see this output, and I'm going to show you how can I write, because there are 4 different tables which is coming as output. Can I write it to an Excel file? Yes, you can write it. Let me show you how to do that. So first of all, understand, if I write that in a message box, what outputs are you expecting? Tell me. It will be the same output which we saw in for each loop, right? There were 4 outputs which came: simple fields formatted, item formatted. The same output would come in the message box also. So let me show you. Then we are going to write it to an Excel file. Okay, it is becoming easy, right? So once you have this understanding once, it is going to help you. You have a proper concepts. You're just not going through any videos and then trying how they have done it, but you have a complete understanding, so you know how to modify, where to use, what to do. Okay, all right, we are very close. See, look at this table. If you click on this, I have shown in the previous video, you can see it is pulling all the table. Okay, this side is pulling all the data. All right, let's continue. All right, so first output, what is the output for table 0? Simple fields. The first field which is going to contain all the fields that you have defined in the taxonomy apart from your table type. All other fields will come in this particular table. Okay, simple field, then comes the simple fields formatted, then comes the defined as per the taxonomy. Whatever name you have given, that name will be given to the table. The items table has come, and the fourth one is items dot formatted. If you have more table type of a data in taxonomy, those many two times it will come. Okay, so this is understood. So once you have understood this, I am going to show you a little bit extra data where you want to see that in an Excel file. Okay, so I've created an Excel file, sheet 1, sheet 2, sheet 3, sheet 4, because there are 4 outputs, and let it write to this particular sheet. So for that we will use a write range, and we are going to point that out to our file. Okay, and the data table, right? The data table is nothing but this one. So I'll copy and I'm going to paste it. All right, and it's going to write in the first output of this should be written in the sheet 1. Done. Now let's copy this, and I'm going to put it below this one, and I want to write the output of table 1. So let's copy this and change it, and here I'm going to make it to sheet 2. Okay, similar way, let's copy paste, and then you can do it over here. Same way, just repeat it. Oh, copy, Okay, and this should be written in the sheet number 3. Now below this, okay, now let's okay, let's put it below this, and this should be written in sheet number 4, and the table is 3. All right, so all changes has been made. Just have a double check. So message box table 0, writing in sheet number 1, good. Table 1, writing in sheet number 2, then comes the table 2, writing sheet number 3, then comes the table 3, writing sheet number 4. So everything is proper. Now let's run it. Let me close this file and let's run it. All right, so now once you see this, it should be very clear. So the simple fields, right, the simple fields contains the all the fields that you have defined in the taxonomy. Let's say invoice number, invoice date, due date, bill to, all those things, it is going to stay in this particular table. Okay, one table, first table. This one is going to format. Then the third one would be as per your tables, collection of tables. I mean, whatever you have defined in the taxonomy, it's going to repeat it 2 times. One would be the simple table, the other one would be formatted like this. Okay, so let's see where we are. Okay, it's still running. Let's click on save, continue. Okay, so where this output is coming from that first message box, right? So this is the message box, the first one, data table 0, which is nothing but simple. Now let's see what it contains. It will be written in sheet number 1. Okay, then comes the table 1, which is nothing but simple fields, formatted copy of the same one. It will be written in sheet number 2. Okay, now next comes the third one, which is items, which is the defined taxonomy table, and the fourth one. Okay, so all the sheets should have been written by now. Let's open that file and understand. It's quite simple, right? Once you see this kind of a experiment, it is easy to understand. Okay, so let's see the sheet 1. So sheet 1, as per the, and compare your taxonomy so that you understand what are the fields you want to get. So the taxonomy for your invoice, the fields that I have defined is invoice number, invoice date. So if you look at the first data, which is the invoice number, and if you open this one, the invoice number is 890127, which is exactly the same. And the B column, there is a garbage data, you can ignore that. And the third one is the invoice date. If you see the invoice date, it is coming properly 2016 1/27. Let's compare that. Okay, coming properly, very good. Now let's go back to the taxonomy and go back to the sheet. Okay, and then the company name, the third one is the company name, which is coming properly. And here if you see the G column, it is saying table for the items, because it's a table kind of a data type, so it is showing table. Okay, so this will be there in the sheet number 3. We are going to see what data is there in that. Okay, so this you have understood. Okay, now let me close this. Now in the sheet 2, what is happening? In the sheet 2, the same data what was there 890127, this has been converted into a number format. If you see .00, if the dates are in month, sorry, day, month, year, or month, date, year, it is going to always convert it to year, month, and date. Okay, so that is the format: year, month, date, YYY, and then DD. All right, the company name. So this is the formatted. The second table is the formatted. The third one is nothing but what you have seen it here, which is writing in the G column table. In the table we wanted quantity, we wanted, so this is the garbage data, the second one is the garbage, so leave that. So quantity, and then if you see, if you compare quantity 1017 3, 1017 3, all the description of those items, unit price of those items. Okay, and then if you see, this is the total amount. Okay, so the table has been extracted, so that is there in the sheet number 3. Now if you go to the sheet number 4, is the formatted value of that. So if you see, the output is 10, here the output is written 10.00. It is just converting that into numeric format, otherwise rest of the things remains same. All right, so you must have understood what a data set contains. This is the exact amount of data that the data set would have. A table named simple fields, which will have the fields apart from the type table, and it's a copy of that and the collection of other tables that you have defined in your taxonomy. So that is what a data set. So once you know this, see how valuable you would feel with the knowledge, the amount of knowledge that you have got. So thank you so much for watching, and please do not forget to like the content, and please do subscribe in case you have not done it already. Many people have subscribed. Do not wait. Only when you subscribe, you have the option to get the daily notifications, and you get connected. If you're learning something, you have to stay connected, and this is a continuous learning. You can't stop. The learning doesn't stop, right? We have to continue to learn. So please do subscribe, please do share with your friends, and please do comment what you learned, what you liked from this video. So thank you so much for all your support, guys, and we are going to meet in our next video. Take care. Bye bye.